morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good start to your Wednesday. I wanted to say something real quick, literally as we're going on the air. Stacy with the mic drop, and we'll get to this in a little while. But she says, don't forget to share the group so they can hit 5,000 likes, and so I can win 3 more belts. I mean, that's literally just a of the morning.
Wow.
So I love it. Alex and Cole with you this morning. Cole, what's going on?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. Feels great to say that on a Wednesday. I'm doing well. How are you, Alex?
I am good. Also, I got my coffee. I actually had some time to spare getting everything set up this morning, and sometimes that's not always good because I'm like, I know I'm forgetting something, but I think we're good to go. Good to talk some wrestling. Who do we got on here this morning? We got a nice little crowd for today. Alan, good morning. Brian, good morning. Steve, Jordan, Billy, Sean, Saki the Sock. Oh, he dropped the puppet off his name. It's not Saki the Sock Puppet anymore. It's just Saki the Sock now.
I mean, we get it. You're a puppet. We don't need that at the end. I got you.
That's fine. Jamie, Matt, Stacy, Shane, Joe, Danny, Bonnie, Fear the Beard. Good morning, everyone. As you may have noticed, we are going to do a giveaway during today's podcast. You'll have to stick around and hang out with us just to see when we do it. We're not going to do it to start off the show. We might do it in the middle. We might do it at the end, but you'll just have to see and stick around and find out. And yeah, let's just get rolling. All right, so we got a lot to talk about. As far as our stories / headlines of the week, Cole, which one do you want to tackle first?
I think let's tackle the elephant in the room here with this Retribution storyline. We had some huge development in that storyline.
A little bit.
I feel kind of like out of nowhere. One second you just got a bunch of dudes running around in masks and girls. Next minute they're actually signed. Because hopefully that stops destruction.
Because hopefully because that makes sense.
Hey, you just destroyed all of our property. Let's sign you. So obviously that didn't make a lot of sense. Then you have like some of these prominent NXT people kind of being the face of this group with Dominic Dijakovic as T-Bar.
Some of their names too. I'm not even going to go there. But
Mia
continue.
Yim's obviously in there as well, which they haven't really done much with her in the group, which is interesting.
Well, so just a quick observation: I didn't see either Mia or Mercedes Martinez on Raw this past Monday.
No women in that segment. It was all men in that segment, which was also interesting as well. But then, come Monday night this past week, the Hurt Business announces that they have an open spot on the Hurt Business for one night only, which was interesting. And you kind of got a teaser that might have been Ricochet with some of the camera angles and whatnot. And sure enough, at the end of the night, you got Mustafa Ali, who decides to take on MVP, and he gets pretty big for his britches because he tells the Hurt Business that I'm going to start with you, I'm going to go to you, and then I'm going to finish with you, and tells all three of them that he's going to go through them. And here comes the match. Here comes Retribution coming out, and they make Ali look like he's joining the Hurt Business for that one night only. And then Ali gets out of the ring, and sure enough, Mustafa Ali, of all people, is the leader of Retribution. Alex, what do you think of this?
The main event of main event for weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, it's a small sample size. We don't know where it's going yet, at least with Ali's involvement. I do think they're going to have to change up his appearance. They even teased the whole, how he has that lit black glove or whatever, and then he had a post on his Twitter where it's just that GIF or GIF, however you pronounce it, where he's doing this with his hand and it says lights out. So that's kind of surprising in the sense that that's a big merch seller for WWE on their shop site, is just that lit glove. Even while he's not had a prominent role, I think I saw yesterday that of any non shirt or non-clothing item that was like number 7 on their seller list or something like that. So it also begs the question, are they going to change his name?
I didn't even think of that. I will say this. We obviously knew they wanted to do something with Ali.
Right.
Because I actually saw someone's post of the day. They're still insinuating that maybe the hacker storyline plays into this one as well. That the hacker was initially going to try to sabotage WWE via satellite, but and the rumors were that Ali was that guy, and so now looking at it, it didn't really shock me. I don't think when I saw him come out as the leader. I will say this though, it does kind of desensitize the group for me a little bit because Ali is not a prominent person. And I get the whole group is all about people who have been overlooked and overshadowed and
right
and all that stuff. But at the same time, putting somebody in charge of a group or of leadership of a group that is like that. For instance, if you go back to the Nexus storyline where Wade Barrett was leading all these Nexus guys, Wade Barrett at least had some kind of a reason to lead. He had won NXT. He was the only one that technically got a contract. So he was deemed leader. Ali doesn't really have anything for me to look at that's like, oh yeah, leader. Not to mention he was a face. So like you had a lot of things switch roles all at the same time. So I don't really, I don't want to say that I dislike it. I think it's more like there's a lot that has to be done for me to really get behind this group now that already kind of has a more maybe comedic look to it now because of the mask, because of a lot of those things. And I read a rumor that this is all set up for Survivor Series to do Hurt Business versus Retribution. And I actually read that there's a possibility though that Retribution could kind of get during the draft get disbanded into both Raw and SmackDown.
That would be the Vince moves of all Vince moves. Get this group going and then split them up, and then more than likely if they split them up, they're just gonna probably throw away the whole Retribution as a group. They might keep like the T-Bar and Mace names and all that stuff, but just like complete throwaway of the entire storyline.
Here's the rumor though. The rumor is that maybe they're gonna. This group wasn't meant to be long term. And I read that, and this is what kind of fuels this argument, is that if they disband into two groups on both Raw and SmackDown, at Survivor Series, we will actually get Raw and SmackDown versus Retribution. And it'll be a 10-on-10, 5 women, 5 men from Raw and SmackDown versus 5 women and 5 men of Retribution. It'll be a 10-on-10 Survivor Series match. And they're saying that Retribution will actually have everyone eliminated without Raw or SmackDown losing a person. And it'll be all about embarrassing Retribution and getting it off TV. And it's kind of a weird aspect because I started thinking about it. Why introduce all these talented people from NXT in a group that actually had a little bit of potential from the start to not have a long-term storyline for them? They're actually talking about putting Dijakovic back on NXT after this and getting him ready for a actual main roster debut as Dominic Dijakovic, and just going to kind of ignore this whole T-Bar thing. And the other rumor is that Mia Yim will actually be the only one of Retribution to stay on the main roster, and she's going to be paired with Keith Lee, who is in real life Mia Yim's boyfriend.
See, they should have went that direction to start with. I get why they tried this whole Retribution thing. I mean, someone says, Jamie says, do you guys think that this is Vince's way to redeem themselves after really messing up the Nexus stable? If that's what they were trying to do, then they've already failed at that, in my opinion.
If WWE's proved anything, it's that when you fail it once, you will probably fail it twice. And
XFL.
Wow.
Mic drop right there.
Wow. That got deep. Yeah, so I don't know if this was their attempt at that. I think WWE was like, hey, listen, ratings are down. Notice where Retribution is centered at right now. They had them on Raw and SmackDown both, kind of interfering with both shows. But they ultimately were interfering with Raw.
Right.
And so they're on Raw. This is an attempt to try to get Raw ratings up. And if there's anything that brings ratings up is who is that under the mask? Who is that leading that stable? What is their end result? Who are they targeting? For the longest time, Retribution wasn't even targeting anybody.
Right.
They were just throwing bricks through windows and lighting things on fire. Like, it really didn't have any rhyme or reason to it. And I think their goal is, hey, our roster's already dwindled down to a bare minimum. We already got people who are sick, who can't get on TV, who are out of the country. We can't get them back. We already are struggling to get enough people on air to make our show worth watching. Mm-hmm. Let's bring all these NXT guys up with masks on, so we never really have to reveal all of them in the first place. And then even now, we're not stupid. We know that's Dominik Dijakovic. We know that that's Mia Yim. We know that that's Mercedes Martinez. We're not stupid, but they're going to play us stupid. They're going to have all these people come on TV for a 5-month, 6-month storyline maybe, just to try to get ratings up, and then try to dwindle all these people back into NXT and back into other roles. But the thing that bothers me about Mia Yim is that they're not talking about bringing Mia Yim up to utilize her the correct way. They're talking about bringing Mia Yim up to do intergender matches with Keith Lee as mixed tag team matches and stuff, and doing mixed tag team storylines. And like, well, what a waste of two perfectly great, amazing talents. Now I'm hoping other rumors I'm reading are true, because they negate this part of the rumor. But that is one rumor that is out there. And Alex and I talked, and we were like, we got to address this Retribution storyline, because right now it is we thought it had developed a lot, because I thought like T-Bar was the leader in a sense, because he was the one doing a lot of the mic handling. But now we realize that that's not the case. And I personally don't know if this stable is going to get very far off the ground.
And there's so many smaller things that are being tied in through like social media. Like they group unfollowed that Malcolm Bivens guy from NXT, and there was like a thing that you know at first that Malcolm was going to be their leader, which what purpose would that have served? And I don't know. It's what it comes down to is the fact that Vince McMahon. The problem is he's just and you can read any wrestling website that has picked up this story. They're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants week by week with this storyline. That inevitably lies the problem, is that you don't have any long-term plans, long-term booking, other than for them to just come and wreak havoc. And eventually, you're going to have to do something with them other than that. You're going to have to put them over somebody, or if you want to completely just do away with the storyline, if it looks like it's not working, like you said, have them lose at Survivor Series and then they're just done. And if for some reason, we're October 7th, so Survivor Series is going to be in about a month or so, month and a half. Let's say 5 weeks from now, it appears that this Retribution storyline is just falling flat, not going anywhere. If WWE pulls the plug and just says, okay, we're going to have a, losers are fired from WWE kind of match or whatever, and they just completely drop the whole Retribution storyline and just start from scratch, I'd actually applaud them for that, because they would, creative would be like, okay, Vince, this isn't working. It's not been working for weeks. We need to go, with at least with these 5, with Mia Yim, Mercedes Martinez, Dijakovic, Shane Thorne, Dio Madden. With these 5, we need to repackage them and not be lazy from a creative standpoint, just because we're pretty much on autopilot with this storyline. And so I would applaud them if for whatever reason they hit the reset button, because AEW's been good at doing that. I mean, they did it with the Nightmare Collective storyline and a couple other smaller things that aren't coming to mind at the moment. But I think it's still too small of a sample size, at least with Ali as the leader, to really give any sort of critique on it. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks from now we'll have a better idea. Another problem I have with it though is that we were seeing them on Raw and SmackDown, and then it just like you said, I think it was just to get the ratings up. On Raw in particular, they were exclusive to Raw, but there wasn't really an explanation from a storyline standpoint why they stopped appearing on SmackDown, and it was just kind of just little things like that from a storyline perspective that aren't explained, that don't make sense. We get it, it's pro wrestling. We get that it's scripted, obviously, but still, you got to have a reason for fans. It's just like, we've said this multiple times, pro wrestling is the men's version of a soap opera. It's got storylines. You've got to explain them. You've got to progress things. Otherwise, you lose viewers. That's what happens with any show, quite frankly. And if, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks from now, this seems like it's not going anywhere, even with Ali as their leader, figurehead, whatever, I feel like they need to hit the reset button to some degree, whether it's, keeping them as retribution, but repackaging them somehow, repackaging them all together. But I don't see, if you're WWE, how you can make this more entertaining. Again, this is just my opinion. I don't see how you make it more entertaining, even with Ali as the leader, because to me, it just, like Jamie said earlier, it just has that Nexus feel to it. That at the time felt like, wow, they're coming out and destroying the ring and tearing apart the announce tables and everything. This just feels like, for wrestling fans that have seen this once before, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, I get the whole like lights flickering and, kind of putting a new flavor on it, I guess. But there's nothing there to keep the common wrestling fan emotionally invested, much less someone like us that I would call us more than the common wrestling fan. I mean, we've been watching and following for years. So I don't know. I guess to be determined, but
this was doomed from the start though, because of storytelling. And the reason why I bring that up is that I want to take you guys back to when Retribution kind of debuted as far as on TV. The night that they debuted, there were tweets out that said there's a new faction debuting on,
yeah, that's right,
Raw, or I think it was SmackDown actually, but there's a new faction debuting. And then that night, Retribution's that new faction, and we're kind of all just like mind blown, because this is a faction that you shouldn't have known they were debuting.
Well, no, I mean, you got a faction that's saying, oh, we got a faction that's possibly debuting, but then the faction tears up your place. That's like saying,
they didn't really debut though, right? Like they literally had a little vignette of them blowing up a breaker or whatever it was. And that's what my point is that there's no storytelling in this, because you literally told us the shock value part of the story. We know that a faction's debuting when they come out and destroy everybody. Mm-hmm. Or we know, hey, something's up. That's the shock, is not knowing it's coming. Mm-hmm. And they announced it on their Twitter. They did like 2 or 3 different segments before they debuted on the show. And I was like, yeah, we're going to have a faction tonight. And it's like, okay, like this, they're treating us like we're like a 3-year-old kids show. Like, do you want to see a faction tonight? Yeah.
Well, I think another problem lies in the fact that, unfortunately, once it was, so at first we didn't know who any of these people were. I mean, they were anywhere from as little as maybe 4 at one time to as many as 15. Yeah.
None of them the size of Dijakovic, by the way.
Let's see. Fear the Beard says, anyone else frozen? I just want to make sure that I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm good over here.
And it doesn't look like we have a little side computer over here that kind of tells us if we're dropping frames or not. Doesn't appear that we are. So, Fear the Beard, you might want to... Oh, it says we're good now. Cool. So to kind of put the cherry on top of this topic, if you will. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Whenever we found out who the individuals were that were involved, none of them necessarily had name value. I mean, obviously they're all talented. They're coming from NXT, but it was kind of a underwhelming reaction, at least for me personally whenever I found out who was involved. In particular, because I would have liked to have seen Mia Yim come up to the main roster just as Mia Yim,
right?
Be paired with Keith Lee. And I think all this comes on an individual basis. I mean, Dio Madden, we've already seen him as a Raw announced guy. Shane Thorne, I mean, he was
underwhelming in NXT.
At best NXT mid card.
Yeah.
Mercedes Martinez just started NXT. I think they should have kept her in NXT much longer to kind of, garner that name value. And I mean,
killing storylines in NXT, by the way, because she was in a storyline.
Yeah. And then Dijakovic was kind of, whenever Dominic Dijakovic, no offense to him, but whenever he's kind of like the main name, so to speak, whenever it was revealed who they were, even before it was apparent on TV, it was just kind of, okay, this is your main guy. It doesn't have that holy crap, for lack of a better term, feel to it.
Not to mention, it's dangerous to their careers because this storyline's not good. So far, it's not been good. And you're going to have Dominic Dijakovic, who had potential. We've said that. We knew he had potential. A little sloppy in some matches, but has potential. And now it's going to be really hard for him to recover from this storyline. You got someone like Mia Yim, who is probably in the top 10 best women's wrestlers that they have across all brands. She's phenomenal.
Agreed.
And you're really putting her career at risk because we know that's her. There's no hiding Mia Yim.
Right.
I even think Mercedes Martinez is one to be watched because she is very talented, a little up there in age, but is very talented and could have been someone that we brought into the main roster at some point in time or used more prominently on NXT, maybe in the women's division. One way or another, this could be detrimental to her career. The other one, Shane Thorne, like you said, I don't think had a shot of ever revamping or revitalizing his career in WWE. I don't think Dio Madden really has that shot either. But I do think that the reveal of who the leader was underwhelming for sure, and we'll see from weeks to come how that comes about. So
let's preview this. Let's preview tonight's programming, so to speak. Actually, before we do that, I want to look at some of your guys' comments. Fear the Beard says that he's never even seen Dio wrestle. I don't think I have either. Let's see. I want to stay on topic here. Jamie says, "Does it land the same for you? Does it land the same for you if they don't change their names to those dumb names and masks?" For me, I think it does land a little bit more. I think this would have more of a big time feel if they just would have stayed in their black attire, masked up and everything, and then they would do like a big reveal as these people from NXT rather than throw them, give them these stupid names and keep them in the partial masks where obviously we can tell it's Mia Yim. So that's just my quick take. So tonight's programming, we've got AEW's got a stacked lineup tonight.
Yep.
We've got a dog collar match. With
Not to be confused with the dog food match.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
It's the big dog. Oh, I'm sorry.
We got a dog collar match with Cody and Brody Lee. If you guys have not watched, if you guys have WWE Network, go back and watch Starrcade 83, dog collar match with Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine. If this match tonight is anywhere near of the intensity, for lack of, that's just the word I'm going to throw with it. If it's anywhere near that, excuse me, if it's anywhere near that, this is going to be good. Because and you guys that are watching, let me know if you recall any other dog collar match, at least in WWF/WWE or WCW/NWA since. I'm sure they've had him in, the smaller NWA territories back in the day, they probably had them in Japan, but on a bigger scale. Sorry, guys. Got my phone hooked up to our system. I do need to figure out a way how to mute that. I haven't figured that out yet. Anyway, as far as dog collar matches on a larger scale, I don't recall one, at least, on mainstream American television, or even on pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure this is the first dog collar match that's been on network television ever. And so, Starrcade 83, Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine, if you've not watched that before, or even if you have, go watch that kind of as a precursor to tonight's dog collar match. Man, we're having all kinds of stuff going on here. Just a second. There we go. Brian says, I was at Starrcade 83. No way they can match it. Probably not, just for the time period we live in now and the fact that, it's going to be on network television, so they're going to be limited as far as what, scripted violence that they can pull off. So we've got that tonight. We've got Jericho's 30th year in the business. He and, is it Jake Hager?
Mm-hmm.
Going against Luther and somebody else in a tag match.
Serpentico.
That's right. Okay.
What a match.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to Jericho and Luther have history with each other, in and outside of the business. And so I think that's kind of, Jericho's thank you to Luther, because I think Luther kind of helped bring him up in the business. And I don't know if he was a trainer necessarily, but I think he just kind of helped him along the way. By the way, guys, I might talk about this next week, but there's actually something called, there was something called, I can't think of it right now. Okay, so back in the early 2000s, or maybe it's the early 2010s, there was something called, no pun intended, Wrestling Retribution Project. Luther was part of this. There are a lot of other guys that were part of this, including Kenny Omega, MVP, Gallows and Anderson. What's that guy that's been on? Adam Pearce. He was on it. But I didn't find out about this until just a couple of days ago. And Jericho posted something on Twitter that you kind of led me to it, because he said that, Luther actually has victories over Kenny Omega and, a couple other guys that today are upper card talent. And so I was like, Luther's wrestled Kenny Omega and beat him? And surely enough, I did some research, and there was something called Wrestling Retribution Project. It was a short-lived entity, I guess, in the early 2010s. I think it was overseas somewhere. Fear the Beard says, who's Luther? Just Google Luther AEW and you'll get your answer. Anyway, so back to tonight. What else do we have for tonight? Gotta look this up real quick because I had the preview and then I exited out of the link. So apparently Luther and Serpentico are called Chaos Project, by the way. We've got Brian Cage against Will Hobbs for the FTW Championship, the first FTW title defense on a Dynamite.
That should be good.
Again, we've got the dog collar match for the TNT Championship. Big Swole versus Serena Deeb. I think that was just announced this morning. And FTR against TH2 in their Brush with Greatness Challenge, or whatever it's called. I'm looking forward to the dog collar match. I'm looking forward to whatever they do with Jericho's 30th year celebration, because they're advertising a celebration separate from the match. The FTW title match, I don't know how they were. I mean, it's a big dude versus a big dude, so I mean, who knows what might happen there. The tag match, I'm not really into TH2. Never really have been. I don't know if it's just because they were off TV for the longest time.
TH2, that's Angelico and Jack Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're talented, but when you don't use them, it's hard to get behind a team that's never really on TV.
Well, and it's like they're trying, again, I've mentioned before, if you guys watched BTE, excuse me, they're featured on there from time to time, and they give them random segments that are 3, 4, 5 minutes long. They're not very good on the mic, and that's recorded, so you can go back and edit that, reshoot it, whatever. Even for something that's edited, I'm not into them at all as far as mic work. So I'm curious to see how their styles mesh or not mesh with each other tonight. We'll see. And then, like I said, you've got Big Swole, Serena Deeb. I wouldn't be surprised if they add more to this card. That's all that's been announced so far. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean, AEW has been known to have longer matches, so we'll see. And then, has anything been announced for NXT tonight besides? And we'll kind of tie in our. We want to do a quick recap of Takeover from Sunday. I think they've announced
the Halloween Havoc thing, and it's being hosted by Shotzi Blackheart.
Well, I'm talking about for NXT tonight. I don't think they've announced anything for tonight. I don't believe.
No,
besides someone kicking off the show who returned at Takeover, which we'll get to in a second. Besides that, I don't know if they've announced anything. I'm going to look.
Surely there's going to be developments on the Ridge Holland segment from NXT as well.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll have the fallout from Takeover, obviously. Yeah, okay, so the only match that's been announced, I just got goosebumps. This might be a good match. The only match announced for tonight is Kushida against Tommaso Ciampa.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
That's a Takeover-ish kind of match.
And hopefully this isn't storyline where like somebody interferes or interrupts or anything, but this has potential to be.
That could be a really solid match. But besides that, nothing has been announced as of. Let's see. This was posted this morning This was literally posted about 40 minutes ago. So as of 40 minutes ago, all that's been announced is Kushida and Ciampa, and kicking off the show with someone who returned at TakeOver, which we'll talk about real quick. So, did you watch TakeOver?
I did.
Overall, what did you think of it?
I thought it had two really great matches. One, obviously, amazing. Another one that was great. I thought the other three matches were somewhat, maybe, I don't want to say they were bad, but they just didn't do it for me for a 5-card pay-per-view.
Okay. So on an A to an F scale, what would you give it?
B.
Okay. I would probably give it a B plus. No pun intended. I was about ready to say a solid B plus. Back to the Daniel Bryan storyline from a few years ago, but I would give it a B plus. So let's just take this match by match, and I'm reading some of you guys' comments real quick. So, Fear the Beard says he loved Gargano and Damian Priest. That's the first one we'll talk about. And Damian Priest gets the win over Gargano. This is one I got wrong. I took a leap of faith and said that Gargano was going to win the title. Damian Priest retains in a match that went a little over 18 and a half minutes. Was this one of your matches that you said was really good?
This was probably the second best match of the night.
Okay, I would agree with that. I've read that they've got really big plans for Damian Priest on NXT. So give it a year from now, I would not be shocked at all if he is the NXT champion or has already held the title, or was just like a blink of an eye away from getting the title. He was Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor, so I've I've watched him even prior to NXT. He's super talented. He's only gotten better. I'm kind of still confused, though, at what point he became a face, what point he became a fan favorite. It just kind of organically went in that direction, which is fine, but it still just has. So it's not like back in the day when you had Stone Cold Steve Austin have this edginess, and then the fans were just like all for it and jumping behind it. I still think you've got a fan base that's like me, confused as far as when it happened, and I get that it's kind of a different era, a different time period. So wrestling companies are just going to say, okay, fans, you cheer for whoever you want to. We're not going to shove anything down your throats for the most part.
It was a subtle transition because he did switch how he did his interviews and promos and things like that. But it was subtle. It wasn't like this major, like something happened that made me.
And I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm not complaining about it. It's just an observation I've made over the last couple weeks with watching the pay-per-view, seeing him on NXT on Wednesday nights. So anyway, I agree. I think this was second match of the night, a close second. And I like that it was a clean finish. There wasn't any kind of run-ins or anything like that. So
this only leads. The only question I have from this match is what are you doing with Johnny Gargano?
I've got something to
because here's where I struggle because we both picked Johnny Gargano to win this match.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you picked.
We both went because we both felt like they were really going to push this Gargano dynasty storyline with him and Candice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, okay, well, how many more losses can Johnny Gargano take before you don't call him Johnny Takeover anymore? Before you don't before you take away some of the highlights of what he brings to a show. And, I think Johnny Gargano's up there with, for sure, a lot of the mid-card talent that's on the main roster. I definitely think he could be someone who holds a United States or Intercontinental title at this point in time. But I get that they used him to put Damian Priest over. Obviously, Damian Priest has the build that Vince likes, is very talented, has a lot of the abilities that you need for the main roster. But at what point does Johnny Gargano get taken seriously again in NXT? Because this to me hurts him.
Yeah, I have a theory. We'll get to that as we progress in the show. And I'm reading all your guys' comments. I will get to a lot of your comments, not necessarily person for person or word for word, but I'm ultimately going to address my thoughts on Johnny Gargano later in the show. So we've got Kushida and Velveteen Dream in a match that went 13 minutes. And selfishly, I liked the match because I still don't think Velveteen Dream should have a job. That's just my personal opinion with the whole scandal that he was dealing with. And, I'm going to, aside from those comments, I'm going to leave my personal opinion out of it. I do like the fact that Kushida also got the win from it helps to build him, hopefully, and from that perspective. It was super interesting, though, that this match, for the most part, felt like a burial for Velveteen Dream. I mean, he got a few offensive moves in here and there, but this felt like we need to be more animated. What's with these lights? There we go. This felt very much like, well, I'm going to jump the gun because I have other thoughts I'll share later in the show as well, but hopefully this elevates Kushida. But because it didn't have that back and forth element, I was left underwhelmed by this match. I get, at least hopefully I get the direction they're going. Hopefully they elevate Kushida from this. Velveteen Dream, again, I'll share later in the show my thoughts with him as well. What did you think?
I only have two thoughts on this match. One, this match had a lot of potential if there was story behind it. This didn't really have a build-up for me.
They did just throw it on the pay-per-view.
It was very, Velveteen attacked Kushida like 2 weeks prior to this.
Was it 2 weeks or was it the week before? It might have been. I don't know.
I think it was the 2 Wednesdays before.
It might have been.
Takeover, and then Kushida had a match this past Wednesday before Takeover.
You're right.
And that just kind of set it up. So only a 2-week storyline to put on the pay-per-view. It almost seemed like, who can we elevate in this pay-per-view? Because we only have 4 matches for it. And I was just kind of left a little underwhelmed again because there was really no storyline to this. Now, there were comments that came out from Triple H about Velveteen Dream and pretty much said that the reason Velveteen Dream's career professionally struggles because of the choices that Velveteen Dream makes in his personal life, which leads me to believe that there is more to the Velveteen's problems outside of the ring than just one thing. And we all know the one major thing that came out about him, but there obviously is a lot more problems to him than just that one thing, because
Agreed.
Velveteen Dream, for years, people have said he's the best thing in wrestling and he should go up to the main roster. And I think even before the scandal, Alex and I could kind of see that a little bit. We could see some of the talent, and
I could see some of it, but to be completely honest, like the longer he was in NXT, it didn't seem like he was really improving at all. I mean,
he definitely plateaued.
Yeah,
and that's so. My first thought was that it does seem like they are trying to use what little bit left they have in Velveteen Dream as far as star value to get somebody else over before they ultimately either try to take him off TV for a while, repackage him, or inevitably let him go. But either way, I felt like the storyline aspect of this for me really hurt the match, because there really wasn't one.
I'm surprised to see this went 13 minutes as well.
I am glad Kushida got the win, because even though I think we both picked Dream for this one, I think it was because we didn't feel like Kushida had enough build, and it seemed like they weren't done with Dream. But I do think this was their way of saying, look, we're not stupid. When someone keeps messing up, we don't just keep putting them on TV. So in their personal life. So I don't know. This match to me was probably the worst match on the card.
Yeah, I would say so too. I mean, just because, again, you gave it a B, I gave it a B plus. So I mean, it's by comparison standards of any and every pay-per-view event that either WWE, NXT, or AEW has had, it was a good event. So we're not trying to make it sound like it was awful, but just by default, I would agree that this was the worst match on the card. So the next match was Santos Escobar against Isaiah Scott for the Cruiserweight Championship. This match went a little over 15 minutes. I read online that people absolutely just loved this match, and I thought it was good, but I mean, I'm just like, it had some cool spots. It had some near falls and things like that, but I'm reading online, and I was like, am I watching the same match you guys are? Because people were just like all but drooling over this match on social media, and I mean, you can only interpret so well over social media. It's just one of those things, but I thought this was probably third place as far as match of the night. I mean, it was middle. It was mid card. It was the match fell in the middle of the card. There we go, and that's kind of where I felt it placed as far as when you're ranking matches of the night. So I mean, people were saying, even after the pay-per-view went off the air, people were saying that it was match of the night, and I'm just like, I'm not sure what I was missing, or what I mean, because I watched the entire match. I watched the entire pay-per-view from top to bottom. I didn't, if I left the room, I paused it and unpaused it when I came back, so I didn't miss anything. Maybe you can help me out with this.
So fast forward or let's backtrack just a little bit. You weren't really a Lucha Underground person, were you? You didn't really watch any of the Lucha stuff?
No, but I mean, I'm a Lucha fan. I mean, Lucha started Lucha started way back.
Specifically talking about that brand. The reason why is that these two were on that brand together.
Right.
You know, with Isaiah Swerve Scott was under the name Killshot in Lucha Underground, and Santo Escobar was under King Cuerto. So these two have worked, obviously, the indies together, but they were on Lucha and put on, I believe, I'm trying to remember what season it was in. They actually had some kind of feuding matches where they worked together. And so the excitement for me in this match was these are two guys that are really talented who are finally getting a shot to fight. This match was good. I agree. Good. I don't know how, after watching what I believe was match of the night, you could even come close to this match with these two.
Agreed.
I don't think they were match of the night. I think this was a good match. It was a good middle of the card match because it was exciting to watch. So it kind of helped elevate, and maybe that was part of the problem, is placement of the card made it seem better than maybe what it was, because it kind of rejuvenates the pay-per-view.
Right.
They are both exciting to watch. They're both really good wrestlers, very talented in the ring. I thought this match to me was a close second to second place, but nowhere close to match of the night.
I would still put it in third place, just my opinion. But part of that is, I mean, like you said, I didn't watch Lucha Underground. I didn't follow it. I was aware of, Isaiah Scott as Killshot and Shane Strickland and things like that. Santos Escobar as King Cuerno, and to me, it just, I don't know. I don't know if it's just that cruiserweight stigma that WWE has now, because I think cruiserweights. I think back in the day of WCW, whenever you could throw any two cruiserweights out there, or any four, if you have a tag match, etc., and it would be up there with match of the night on every Nitro, on every Thunder. Perfect example, I posted on our Going Broadway podcast Twitter a few days ago. I think it was Rey Mysterio and Super Calo from Fall Brawl of '96. No one knows Super Calo, or I shouldn't say no one, but most people don't remember Super Calo. But yet, some of the moves they pulled off, and just everything was just so smooth and fluid, and there weren't botches.
Right.
I mean, they just did not happen. And that's what I'm used to when I think of cruiserweights. I'm not, I've kind of put out of my mind the multiple cruiserweight eras that WWF/WWE's had. They've had their light heavyweight title, and then they brought the cruiserweight title back in the early 2000s, or maybe it was the 2010s, whenever you had whenever you had guys like Matt Hardy and who else, like Juventud Guerrera had it, Chavo Guerrero Jr. had it, Nunzio, guys like that. Whenever it was on SmackDown, whenever guys like that had it, and so whenever it was revived again with the Cruiserweight Classic, now the Cruiserweight Classic tournament was
great,
awesome,
yep,
phenomenal. If they could have somehow this light is really starting to tick me off. Maybe sometime. There we go. If they could have somehow capitalized off that Cruiserweight Classic tournament and, made it to where it felt akin to WCW back in the day, but still kept that new flavor of just the, the more modern Cruiserweight moveset, I guess is the right way to phrase it. I think you could have been more successful. I think where they went wrong is 205 Live. Yeah. You try to have another show, and by that point, if you're WWE, you're already kind of flooding the market, so to speak, with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then you've got your other supplementary shows at that point, like Backstage and whatever else they had going on. No one's going to watch 205 Live,
right,
if it's all cruiserweights. So
now, if we took the title, let's take the title out of the match. If you felt like this was literally just Escobar versus Swerve Scott, no title, no cruiserweight stereotype on it, do you feel like that would change
No,
where this match fell on the card for you?
no, probably not.
Just was curious because
No. It's a fair question.
I definitely get what you're saying because the cruiserweight title, that not just the title like the belt, but being titled a cruiserweight wrestler, definitely has a very negative stigma to it because it just desensitizes those wrestlers.
Agreed. Let's see. We got about 30 minutes before we need to start wrapping up, so we're gonna kind of put this into overdrive because we got a couple other things we want to get to. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. This match went about just under 17 minutes. You had the run-in with Johnny Gargano. Ultimately, Io Shirai retains. Some parts of this match, I was like, this is really good, and the other parts, I'm just like, it felt like it was dragging. I don't know. I don't. It's just, I don't know how to put it. I don't know if it's just their styles didn't mesh well or what happened. It just, it's this at the end of the match, it just felt maybe a little bit above average, but still underwhelmed. Maybe just because I'm so used to Io Shirai having good matches, but
this match, this is the title I give this match. This match was what it was. Like that's how I think of this match. This match was what it was. It didn't really have anything special to it. It didn't really have anything that felt special about it. Candice LeRae kind of just, again, not a very long storyline built for this match. A lot of it is Candice won a battle royale or whatever it was, and that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a whole lot of build up to this match, which is why I'm excited about another thing we'll reveal from this pay-per-view. Somebody who returned, because that should help a lot.
Agreed.
But
what confused me is prior to the return that we're going to talk about, we didn't have one return. We had two returns, sort of. So there's a video package that aired of Toni Storm saying she's coming back to NXT. And then right after that, literally, if you didn't watch NXT TakeOver 31, if you did not catch this is literally right after the video package. It went to this person on a bike that we've been seeing with like the green pigmented video and all that stuff. And out comes in biker gear, takes off the helmet. It's Ember Moon. To me, now don't get me wrong. I'm excited that Ember Moon's back. I think Toni Storm is also going to bring a new added element to the NXT women's division.
A needed element for sure.
They should have saved Toni Storm's return for tonight, next Wednesday. I don't think you should have done it back to back. Here's how it felt to me. Obviously, you knew that Ember Moon was coming back that night because you've been airing these vignettes. You've been teasing the return specifically on that event. It's almost like they found out the day of, or maybe a day before, or 2 days before, or whatever, that Toni Storm was coming back. So they were just like, okay, well, we'll throw this on there and give her the, shoot the video, put it on there, and then we'll have Ember Moon right after that. To me, it doesn't make sense that they did that back to back. They should have really, in my opinion, saved Toni Storm for, again, it could have been tonight, could have been next Wednesday. They could have saved her for Halloween Havoc.
Yeah. So a couple of things that come to mind. First off, super excited that Ember Moon is back.
Agreed.
Okay. So hear me out. I am glad. Alex knows this. I am an Ember Moon fan. I thought Ember Moon should have held the title when she was on SmackDown and on Raw.
I think she should have been Asuka's first. Like, she should have been the first person to beat Asuka in NXT.
Yes. But like on the main roster, I thought she was very underused. I thought she should have been used better. So I am glad she's back. I am very upset that she's on NXT because I think she deserves better than that, especially with Becky Lynch being gone, with Charlotte not being on TV, with a lot of these 4 horsewomen. Not like 2 of the 4 aren't even on TV. And a lot of the women they're not using correctly. Ember Moon, to me, is someone you could bring up and have her beat Asuka now on Raw. Ember Moon is someone that you could move up to have feuds with Sasha or Bailey, whoever comes out of that scruff, match. I think we know who's going to win, but that's that. So a little bummed that she's not on the main roster, but glad because she had a very scary injury, an injury that could have kept her on the shelf forever.
Yeah, there was rumor that she was never coming back.
So the fact that she's even back excites me. I hope they don't hotshot her to the title with Io right away. I kind of hoping to see her in some feuds with like Rhea Ripley. Wouldn't mind a Candice LeRae one. Wouldn't mind a few other women's storyline matches with Ember before she goes for the belt. This is where I agree with you. Toni Storm, if they're going to reveal Toni Storm as coming back at TakeOver, it shouldn't have been a vignette. She should have got involved with that Io Shirai, Candice LeRae match, because Toni Storm could be somebody who right now can go and fight Io, or right now can go and fight Candice if Candice was the one who was going to win that match. They could have had, when Johnny Gargano came out, they could have had Toni come out as well to kind of help get the match steered back in the right direction. But then right afterwards, Toni gets in the ring, gets in Io's face, and says whatever.
Right.
So I think they could have had a little bit bigger of an impact with Toni because Toni Storm's good. Toni Storm's a good wrestler, and I think they could have handled that differently. I agree with you. They could have even saved it. Halloween Havoc would have been cool if they would have did like a Candice LeRae, Io Shirai rematch or something, just something to put on the card, but ultimately have Toni come out and ruin the match to set up a new feud with Io or Candice. So,
side note, good news, guys. We don't have to rush as much to finish up our podcast. As a lot of you know, I do some other things here in addition to our podcast as far as our company's financials and things like that. I thought I had a meeting in 30 minutes, but it's been moved. So we can take our time now.
ooh,
So, last match of the night, and it was match of the night. Finn Balor against Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT title. This match went almost 29 minutes. I mean, these guys just... This is what I feel like AEW is missing. You're missing guys that not only can go in the ring, that have the smooth fluidness of their moves and the ring psychology, anything and everything top to bottom, from mat wrestling to the aerial stuff, everything in their arsenal, but that can just go in the ring and, I mean, literally not hold punches. Like, I mean, just literally legit pound the crap out of each other. I mean,
not scared to get hit or to
exactly
or to hit.
Now Michael Hunter says 5-star match for me. I'm hesitant to say 5-star. I would give it 4.5 for sure. Easily 4.5, maybe 4 3/4. But a 5-star match to me, just that is a special place. Like reserve. To me, it's almost impossible that I would give any match a 5-star match without a crowd, like without a legit few thousand people crowd, just because they add so much to the match. They add so much to the atmosphere on TV or in the venue itself. I think the exception would be the Finn Balor Adam Cole match, in my opinion, would have been a 5-star match. Dave Meltzer actually disagreed. He gave it like 4 1/4 or something like that. I was so shocked by that. But anyway, neither here nor there. But this was easily match of the night for me. And I mean, no disrespect to any of the other guys on the card or their matches, but it wasn't even close. This match was everything that I had hoped it would be and more. And even on top of that, there was rumor that they had to cut the match short, like they had to cut off a couple minutes at the end due to possible injuries with both of them. I know that they had, like Triple H said during his little media scrum at the end, that they were both being evaluated. Finn Balor for a possible jaw injury. I forgot what they said they were evaluating Kyle O'Reilly for, but they were both bleeding from the mouth at the end. He had some broken teeth. They were both bleeding from the mouth at the end of the match. Honestly, I know NXT events, NXT takeovers kind of have a tendency to... They tease the ending where they have like the little credit thing across the bottom of the screen, copyright 2020 or whatever, and then something happens after that.
Right.
This is a situation where I feel like they could have just ended TakeOver with the two guys in the ring shaking hands or whatever and talking to each other, having their little banter, and it would have been fine. But we have Ridge Holland, of all people, carrying an unconscious or near unconscious Adam Cole, carrying him out over his shoulder, then dropping him on the outside of the ring. Again, this falls under the small sample size because we've not seen enough. I don't know how they go about this, because to me, selfishly, I don't think Adam Cole should be on NXT anymore. I mean, and it's hard to leave my selfish opinions out of it, but I don't know. I don't know if you're just trying to use Adam Cole to help him build this Holland guy. I mean, people are big on him backstage. The whole incident with him botching a move that really could have paralyzed Johnny Gargano a few weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
They said that was just a fluke thing. Had nothing. It was not his fault. It wasn't Gargano's fault. I've gone back and watched it, and it was just, it was an accident, something that can happen in wrestling. So I agree with him, but they need to build Holland's personality, or they need to give him some kind of an aura or a gimmick. I'm not a gimmick, but just something. He just seems very stale from a personality standpoint. So to me, whenever he's carrying Adam Cole out, at first I didn't recognize him right off the bat. And then I was like, oh, that's right. Because he's not been on TV enough. And all of a sudden he's closing a takeover, carrying out your biggest star of NXT unconscious. And I get that they're trying to give him a rub, obviously, but it just felt so out of place. And so what happens next? I guess if you're WWE, if you're creative, you've got me intrigued as far as how you're going to go forward, which is your goal. But inevitably, I think they need to progress this Ridge Holland and his character to make it feel not believable, but just feel like I want to stay intrigued.
There's a lot to unpack with what you just said. So I'm going to start back at the beginning. I actually thought this match was a 5-star match, and I am taking into account that there was no crowd. I definitely think the crowd helps, but because we don't have crowds, I can't allow that to factor in my opinions of matches, because we're judging the match.
That's fair.
And so I think that had this been a crowd, this would have been an easy 5-star match. We wouldn't even have questioned it.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
definitely understand why we question matches right now, because would that kick have gotten a pop? Would that move gotten crowds to go nuts? This storyline is the definition of good storytelling, because you have a guy like Kyle O'Reilly who has not had a main card title defense or shot, I should say. He's always kind of been tag team wrestling in NXT.
Right.
But he's a guy who across the world has had those matches. And they did such a good job in such a short notice, making all of us believe that he could actually win this match. Because we all know he can, those who have watched him in other promotions and stuff, but maybe somebody hasn't seen Kyle O'Reilly in a singles match. But they did such a great job, even in that face-to-face meeting with him and Finn Balor. I had chills during that segment. Mm-hmm. I had chills watching that, because Kyle O'Reilly sold me, dude, you actually could be a single superstar.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it before, but you kind of lose that mindset in NXT with him, because they had booked him so heavy as a tag team wrestler.
Well, you had that feeling, I mean, whenever Evolution was around, you had that feeling with Orton as well.
And so he proved to me, give or take, that he could.
Sorry about these lights, guys.
That he could evolve into a singles, a great singles wrestler for this company. This match was great. No other matches come close, and
really, even the Balor Adam Cole match.
So that one is close, but I will say this: the Balor and Cole match and the Balor and Kyle O'Reilly match should definitely be the top 2 matches as right now in 2020 for match of the year. I don't think any other company's had a match that has come close in 2020 to those 2 matches, which would, to me, then have to really give Finn Balor a lot of credit, because you're involved in 2 of the best matches of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So But yeah, so to unpackage the match itself, I thought it was great. Now, fast forwarding just a little bit to your comment, there's two things with this Ridge Holland segment that strike me.
Hold on, real quick. The Finn Balor Adam Cole match. So it was Super Tuesday. It only got 3 3/4 stars from Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That is that.
But I don't listen to Dave Meltzer. So.
No, I mean I'll give credence to his ratings just out of respect of his history in the business and things like that. But highly disagree with that rating. That match should have been at least 4.5, at least.
So looking now at the end of NXT, we see Ridge Holland come out with Adam Cole. So now there's a little bit to unpackage here because one, I'm going to talk about Ridge Holland for a second. Ridge Holland, here's the thing about all these NXT UK guys. This is why I have a hard time getting behind NXT UK. Most of the people on the UK brand are all the same gimmick. They all are dry for me. The wrestling ability is great. There's a lot of in-ring talent. We even saw that in the Tag Team Classic when they brought in some of those NXT UK teams for the Tag Team Classic. But a lot of these guys fall flat for me because they have no charisma. They have no storyline. They're all these just big, brute English dudes who can wrestle.
Yeah, and the rare exception to NXT, the rare exception to any UK wrestler, and I agree with you on this, just because it's their personality. It's, I'm not trying to sound racist or profiling or whatever. It's just an Englishman's personality or a Scotsman's personality. The only wrestler that is of that, English, UK, Scotsman, whatever descent that I enjoy watching is Walter, and that's just because he's so, again, we talked about it, so aggressive in his moveset, doesn't care if he, dents somebody's chest in when he chops him 5 or 6 times. That's why we can get into it. Now, maybe Ridge Holland will be like this. Sorry, not to interrupt you. I'm just, maybe Ridge Holland will be like this. I've not seen it, but...
So as far as like you're saying, Walter, Pete Dunne, there's always a handful that stand out because they do things in the ring that are different.
Right.
And Walter has that with the chops specifically. There's just something about a Walter chop that is very loud and bruising. So as far as Ridge Holland goes, you bring him over to NXT, and I agree with you. He's got the build that Vince McMahon likes, that honestly the company likes.
Well, he's a rugby player, so he's gonna be athletic.
He's jacked. He's got a great build. He's got a great in-ring moveset for the most part. But I don't like his look, and I don't like his gimmick, and I don't think he has a personality right now. And so obviously they want to give him a rub. They did that last week on NXT as well, and had him come out and who did he go after? Cameron Grimes.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I could see you're trying to kind of babyface him, whatever. So I could see that. But this is where it leads me to the other thing to unpackage. What are you doing with Adam Cole? Because I agree with you. Adam Cole to me, main roster, no doubts about it. I would even make an argument for all of Undisputed Era to be on the main roster.
I would too.
It would leave a huge gap on NXT, but this is the time, like we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, the show must go on. With COVID being the thing right now that's taking a lot of people out, this is your time on NXT to shine. Caden Carter, Casey Catanzaro, step up. Damian Priest, time for you to shine. Cameron Grimes, let's see if you're who you say you are. Bronson Reed, let's see if who you say you are. Isaiah Swerve Scott. You got all these guys on NXT that could take a more prominent role.
Well, you can even have outside of COVID. I mean, who knows when that's gonna
subside?
Yeah. You could even have NXT and NXT UK, talent share, and we've been saying that for since NXT UK started. Now, granted, there's travel restrictions and it's a little harder to do. Nonetheless, you almost need to, not to get off topic, if you take Undisputed Era, move them to Raw or SmackDown, you almost need to you almost need to back up a truck of money to Walter's house and be like, we need you to come to the US. We need you to be on our primary NXT brand. We'll pay you whatever you want to get you over here.
And get Imperium there and let them do that. So I am definitely lost on the Adam Cole thing. I get you're trying to get a rub. Hopefully, for me, this is hopefully a sign that come the draft this Friday, this Monday night, I don't know if people have caught this or not, but NXT is a part of this draft.
Well, so WWE's Twitter put something out that said, who do you think should get first draft pick? That listed Raw, SmackDown, and NXT.
Yep.
Then they pulled that tweet, and then they only listed Raw or SmackDown and reposted it. So then Triple H had to, he didn't have to because he didn't, but whoever he did the interview with tried to get him to confirm or deny that NXT will have draft picks. And basically his answer was he doesn't know, but he's in constant contact with Vince or something like that. And he was going to, pretty much, I forgot what his exact words were in his response, but more than likely I'd be shocked if NXT is not involved in this draft.
At least getting drafted to Raw or SmackDown. We may not see anybody drafted to NXT, but for sure, guys are going to be called up in this. And so I'm really hoping that this was a way to kind of just, I hate that this is how he's going out, but kind of put the stamp on Adam Cole in NXT and just kind of have him exit with no response to Ridge Holland. No storyline with Ridge Holland.
Now, if you're creative, if this was your way to basically write out Adam Cole, have him be on the shelf for a while, and just simply use Adam Cole and his name value to give Ridge Holland a rub, because Adam Cole, possibly all of Undisputed Era, might be on their way out, I would be okay with that, because I've been saying for a while, if Adam Cole debuts on the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, preferably SmackDown, but I mean, at the same time,
with the draft, it could be completely different rosters.
Correct.
So,
my thing is with him, and kind of side topic, if he goes to SmackDown, it just sucks because he's not going to win the title for a while, because at least right now Roman Reigns is on there. With the situation of the draft and these lights, with Fox and their whole the pull that they have with WWE, I don't think that they're going to want Roman Reigns to go to Raw, and because obviously if you had Roman Reigns go to Raw, then you would need Drew McIntyre to come to SmackDown, because you'd have to keep the titles evened out. You can't have two main card titles on one brand. I just don't think Fox would be on board with that. But anyway, back to what I was talking about with Roman Reigns on SmackDown. If you take Adam Cole and put him on SmackDown, then it's like, okay, well, cool, he's on the main roster, but he's not going to get the title for quite a while, because more than likely they're going to keep it on him at least through WrestleMania. So again, if that's the direction they go, okay, whatever. But you almost need to save. Yeah, I know. We don't need new lights. We just need to take this motion sensor off and just have a normal light switch in here. To me, I still think if you're going to write off Adam Cole the way you did, okay, great. That's part one. Part two is keep him off TV for a while. Let him rest, let him heal, give him some time off. I don't know that he needs it necessarily, but that's just an ancillary thing. Keep him off TV, so whenever he makes his surprise debut at like a Survivor Series or a Royal Rumble, it feels big.
Now, I will say this, and this kind of segues into something we can do real quick. The draft is coming up.
Let's go. I mean, we're finished talking about the pay-per-view, so let's go into that.
Let's segue into this real quick, because this is a great conversation. The draft is coming up. NXT, some of these guys could get drafted. Let's look at who's freed up. Johnny Gargano is freed up. No storyline right now. Doesn't have to be in a storyline. He could get called up. Easy. Undisputed Era. Not a single one of them holding a belt. Nobody's in a storyline now. They're all kind of cleared. They could get called up to a different brand. Now, I have been when the draft comes around, obviously everybody has a rumor about the draft. Everybody has a rumor about storylines going forward. There are a lot. This is the year where I feel like there are so many rumors that are out there about how this is going to, Vince wants to change up all the storylines and this is going to switch everything. Rumors from Seth Rollins is going to SmackDown and is going to become a babyface again and is going to feud with Roman Reigns and actually beat Roman Reigns on a Friday night SmackDown for the belt, for Roman Reigns to win it right back at another at the next pay-per-view just for shock value. All the way to Brock Lesnar gonna go to Raw without Paul Heyman, be Brock Lesnar without Paul Heyman, and fight Drew McIntyre without a title just for payback for all this stuff. Here's the crazy rumor. I'm totally against it. I hope they don't do it. But if WWE has showed us anything, they will do this. Here's the crazy rumor that's out there right now. Roman Reigns is getting drafted to Raw, and Drew McIntyre is not going to SmackDown. They are talking about how Raw's ratings are so low right now that they want to draft Roman Reigns to Raw, put him on the Raw show because Vince McMahon believes that that will draw ratings to Raw, and have both main titles on Raw, which then leads to here's why I know WWE is notorious for doing this stuff. Talking about introducing another new title. The SmackDown title is what they are going to call it.
Where did you read this?
It's not. I'm telling you, this is a guy I'm not releasing my source. I'm just telling you, this guy has usually been on the mark, with a lot of rumors that come out. Now, everybody misses a rumor here and there. I am hoping he's missing this. But you can't tell me that this doesn't sound like something WWE would do, because they introduced the 24/7 championship and it was a huge flop. And I think,
well, I mean, it's got its funny parts here and there, but
it became a comedic gimmick, and I don't think that was their intentions with it at first.
Oh no, absolutely not.
And this is why I'm saying I think that Vince thinks he needs Roman on Raw. Now, if that's the case, put Roman on Raw, but you need to put Drew on SmackDown then and spice up the storylines a little bit. Let's move some people around, and then you can put Undisputed Era on SmackDown and allow for that to take place organically the way it needs to. There are so many storylines from, I've read Keith Lee versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania next year.
That'd be cool.
Putting the belt back on Brock, him coming back and being the one that actually defeats Drew McIntyre for the belt again, and then having Brock versus Keith Lee in 2021, where Keith Lee goes over. So there's a lot of rumors, a lot to unpack with this draft, because yes, there are 1,000 ways that they could go with storylines, with people switching. You have a lot of talented people who are not getting used properly right now. So a lot of ways that they could go with this. But that one really struck me because as crazy and stupid as it sounds, we can't put it past WWE like they wouldn't do it. And so I'm interested to see what the draft brings. I selfishly want at least Adam Cole. I would prefer the whole Undisputed Era up on the main roster. I'm hoping this draft kind of gets Matt Riddle in the right position, Aleister Black in the right position, another superstar that we might talk about here in a little bit in the right position. So,
yeah, Mark echoes my sentiments. Fox won't let Roman leave SmackDown right now because, I mean, even championships aside and keeping things equal and so on and so forth, even if Roman Reigns wasn't the champion, there are certain guys that Fox wants. And because Lesnar's no longer there, I'm sure Fox has probably half a dozen guys that are just like, okay, we require that these guys be on SmackDown. Roman Reigns, I'm sure, is one of them. By the way, I hope your source is wrong as well.
Me too.
Because I think that would just be so insane. That would easily be top 5, maybe top 3 of dumbest things that WWE has ever done. Ever.
Yep. Now, obviously, they could correct it going down. They could do a brand invitational, right? And once they realized that it's either boom or bust for ratings, however that plays out, they could fix it. But
I think part of their ratings grab just needs to be the fact that you
do the right thing. Book the right people. Book the right matches. Actually plan your storylines.
Well, so So it's already a given that Raw is on a Monday night, regardless of whatever channel it's on. And I don't know what channels that. So I think it's like NBC Universal owns the USA Network. You almost need to have Raw be in the same like prime time spot, but you need to put it on like a NBC or something like that if you're wanting the ratings of old, so to speak.
Right.
It's just the fact of the matter is it's 2020. So A, you've got COVID. B, it's a different era. You're not going to have the same 5 or 6 ratings that you had. I promise, guys, we're going to look into getting a light switch. I mean, I don't have any control over the facilities as far as installing a light switch by my own choice, but that's something I'm going to ask about because this is ridiculous. You're not going to have the same ratings that you had during the Monday Night Wars. It's just not going to happen. Another part of the problem is you've got on-demand television. Yeah. You've got DVR now. You've got people that will, even Cole and I do this. We'll watch Raw or SmackDown or NXT or AEW hours or maybe even a day after it's happened. So that's going to factor into the ratings. To some degree. And when you look at it from this perspective, Raw is still their biggest ratings grab. Raw is still doing better than SmackDown 95% of the time. I think there's maybe been once or twice that SmackDown had a higher rating. I might be even wrong on that. But you're not going to have the 4. You're probably not even going to have in the 4s because if you got a 4 rating, that would almost double what you're getting now.
Right.
So if you want a bigger rating, they just need to get off USA Network and somehow get on NBC or again, I don't know what channels NBC Universal owns, but I mean NBC I think is probably their main one. I mean, you guys watching me, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeremy actually says something that's the next thing I was going to say. Jeremy says the key is not ratings. It's a matter of WWE creating content that people want to stay tuned in for. Exactly. Because if you do create content that people want to stay tuned in for, yes, then you will get ratings. But inevitably, ratings are not about who's on what brand, or even so much as, I'm kind of contradicting myself, not even so much as what channel your program is on. Create content that people want to see, that people want to watch, that are emotionally invested in, then you will get the ratings.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of who's where, what channel the program's on, etc. So anyway, that being said, let's give some quick predictions. I just have a few, and I'll just kind of make mine short and sweet. So from SmackDown to Raw, here's what I see. From SmackDown to Raw, I think John Morrison goes from SmackDown to Raw. Here's my logic on this. Back in the territory days, if somebody took a pinfall or did the job for somebody, a lot of times that would be their exit from the territory. So we saw this past week on SmackDown that John Morrison lost to Otis.
Yep.
And it was a clean loss. I do believe. Was it not?
No, clean.
Yeah.
Clean as all get.
So they split up John Morrison and Miz. John Morrison goes to Raw. Now, by the way, I'd be all for this if John Morrison gets more of a push. I don't want to say a more prominent role because he's been in a pretty prominent spot since he returned.
At least a mid-card title shot or run or
something. Because you've got this storyline now where you've got Miz and Otis in this Money in the Bank lawsuit, whatever. So it makes sense that you could have John Morrison go to Raw. Here's another big one. I think AJ Styles goes from SmackDown to Raw because AJ Styles did the same thing. Who did he lose to this past?
Uso.
Yeah. He took a loss to Jey Uso this past week. So same thing. It almost has that feel of, well, why would you have AJ Styles lose to Uso if he's going to stay on SmackDown or if he's not going to leave? So that's kind of my logic there. I think inevitably, I don't think we see too many moves from Raw to SmackDown, at least like on a big scale. Now you might, I'm not really as sure on the other two because these are just predictions. I'm not as confident in this prediction, but you might have Kevin Owens go to SmackDown, which same thing. I would be all for that because it just kind of seems like he's not going anywhere on Raw. But besides that, I mean, you might, not that it would make a difference, but you might have Nia Jax and Baszler go to SmackDown, something like that. Again, they're defending the women's tag titles across all brands, so that's
right,
kind of irrelevant. But there's been rumors of actually having Bray Wyatt go to Raw. Now, I don't know if that means you'd have Bray Wyatt on Raw, but still have Fiend on SmackDown. So those are, I mean, there's obviously going to be more movement than that, but those are just a few quick predictions. I mean, really only two that I would say I'm pretty confident in. Wouldn't be shocked at all if it happens. I mean, wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't happen, but nonetheless, those are my predictions.
Couple things that stick out right now. There's some major storylines that are either going to finish in a very weird way, where they're just going to be stopped because there are going to be certain people that get drafted to other brands that it's going to affect the storyline. Obviously, for instance, I see Randy Orton going to SmackDown.
Really?
Yes, I see Randy Orton already getting drafted to SmackDown, still having his match at Hell in a Cell, losing at Hell in a Cell, and going to SmackDown.
He could win the title, and then, like, he'd have him drafted to SmackDown, but then have Roman Reigns drafted to Raw, so it would have the appearance that at first you'd have
two titles on the same brand. Which could happen. I'm not denying that, but I ultimately think that they're going to play it safe at Hell in a Cell. You're not going to see any major title changes except for one, and I won't spoil that at this point in time. But I think Randy Orton goes to SmackDown. He would be a great person for Roman Reigns to feud with at some point. If we're insinuating, I'm going to say this. I'm going to insinuate for right now that Drew McIntyre will stay on Raw and Roman Reigns will stay on SmackDown.
Okay.
The problem is that storylines and where superstars go will be based off of those two people. Where the belts are is going to play a huge role. I will say this. I think Ricochet goes to SmackDown. I think Ricochet will become a prominent role in their mid-card division on SmackDown. I think that's a little lackluster. I think that the Hurt Business will go to SmackDown.
Ooh.
And will be on SmackDown because I believe Undisputed Era will go to Raw.
Man, throwing out the big predictions.
I am throwing some big things out there, but I honestly think Hurt Business is over. They're doing a great job. So I think the Hurt Business would help SmackDown a ton with being a stable there that doesn't have to be in the main card picture.
Right.
You could at some point with Bobby Lashley against Roman Reigns, but it doesn't have to happen. They can be in the mid card, they can be in the tag team division, all that stuff. So just a couple there. I do think Bray Wyatt's going to go to Raw, and whatnot. So I do think Bray Wyatt's going to end up there, and I think Alexa Bliss is going to end up there. Because inevitably, I think Alexa Bliss Fiend is going to be who beats Asuka for the belt and does that as well. So just a few that are out there. I do think Sasha and Bayley will get put on 2 separate brands. I'm not going to say who I think will hold the belt at that time, but I do think they'll be on separate brands. I think you're going to see a very big diversity switch in the women's division during this draft, more or less than any other.
Okay.
I also think that Aleister Black is going to be split up from Kevin Owens. Whether one of them goes to SmackDown, one of them is going to end up on the other show. And last but certainly not least, I think Dominic Mysterio is going to end up on SmackDown.
Okay. Do you not we can wrap it up with this conversation. It doesn't have to be long. It's just something I literally just thought of because it's been a while since we've seen him. I think. Do you think we see Samoa Joe in this draft?
I'm hoping so because the rumor is that he's cleared, and I would love to see Samoa Joe get drafted. To whatever brand Roman Reigns is not on, for 2 reasons. One, I don't want him. There's a rumor that that they're going to do a Samoan stable, that the Usos are going to turn heel, and it's going to be Roman Reigns with the Usos. And if what you said is correct, it could also include Nia Jax.
Yeah.
It also could include Tamina and making them a tag team again, and having them maybe even hold the women's tag belts across both brands. But the rumor is that they'll have this kind of Samoan bloodline family going, all heels, which all of them have played heels successfully. So it could go over. So I want Samoa Joe on whatever brand that's not on. For that one reason, but 2, I want him to be a main card champion.
Oh, I agree.
And I don't think that's going to happen against Roman Reigns, which inevitably means that he has to be on the other brand going forward. Also, just to give a little bit of insight of something I read, which is why I said what I said, Randy Orton going to SmackDown is because there's a plan. The rumor is that Edge is going to come back, turn heel, and they're going to have Rated RKO help spice up the tag division. Vince McMahon feels like the tag division is weak. It has been for a while. And you could see those 2 helps try to spice up the tag division.
All right, guys. We got about, just looking at the time, I do want to be done by, I'd say 10, 50, 11 o'clock our time. So 20-ish minutes or so. We got a couple more things we want to do. I did mention that we are having a giveaway on today's show. We are still going to do that giveaway. We have not done it yet. So if you're watching us live right now, all you need to do to be automatically entered into the giveaway that we're going to do in a little while is just type the word HERE, HERE, hit enter, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, just type HERE in the chat thread, hit enter, and you'll automatically be entered into our giveaway. So here's what we're going to give away. We mentioned that Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary is this week. Whoever is selected as today's winner, so it's just going to be a randomizer drawing, 10 clicks like we've always done, the winner will receive a Chris Jericho t-shirt of their choosing off Pro Wrestling Tees. You just select the shirt that you want, you select the size, and that's it. And then I need your mailing address, and then we'll get that order for you and have Pro Wrestling Tees. There we go. Send it directly to you. So again, the winner of today's drawing will receive a Chris Jericho t-shirt of their choosing off ProWrestlingTees.com. We will cover the shipping costs for anyone that lives in the lower 48 states. If you live in Alaska, Hawaii, or otherwise internationally, you will have to help cover the shipping costs. Now, it is just going to be for a t-shirt, so I don't know if you'd want to cover the shipping costs for that or not. That's up to you. So, again, anyone that lives in Alaska, Hawaii, Mexico, Canada, otherwise internationally, you'd have to help cover the shipping costs. I will also only cover, and I actually need to look at this real quick. I will only cover sizes small through, I want to say it's
XL, I believe.
I think it's 2XL, because I think once you get to 3XL, I think that's when the sizes, that's when the costs start getting jacked up there a little bit. So let me look here.
I can't remember. I think it might be XL though, where they stop. Where that's the
it does stop at XL. So small, medium, large, or extra large, I will cover for free. If it's a double XL, it'll be an extra $350. A triple XL, $375. A quad XL, $450, and so on. So we've got a lot of people that replied with the word here. We're going to do that drawing here in a little while. But
promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Speaking of shirts, we have our own shirts that I'd like to show you all. These are our Alex Colbebe shirts. They are $25 shipped for a t-shirt plus applicable taxes. They are $50 shipped plus applicable taxes for a hoodie. Guys, it's no longer getting to be hoodie season. It's hoodie season now. Now, granted, today here in the St. Louis area, it's going to be like in the 80s, but
it's always like that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we have very bipolar weather here in the Midwest, but get your Alex Colbebe shirts. Again, $25 shipped plus applicable taxes for a t-shirt, $50 shipped plus applicable taxes for a hoodie. Let Cole or myself know if you're interested in getting one of those. Please also like us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. Please like that page. I've had a few people follow the page over the last couple days, just out of nowhere. I mean, we've not really shared our page across any groups or anything like that. But if you want to have that entry into our 3-belt giveaway that we're still going to do, you actually have to like the page, not just follow it. So keep that in mind. Now, to get all 4 entries into that 3-belt giveaway, you have to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter @GoingBRDWIPod, follow us on Instagram, same handle @GoingBRDWIPod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need to update that link. It's actually that link might still work. I'm not sure, but goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube was our old link. It might still work, but our link now is just the reverse, youtube.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. So if you do all 4, you will get 4 entries into our 3-belt giveaway once we get to 5,000 Facebook likes and 1,000 Twitter followers. So please share us across your social media platforms. Help us get to those numbers so we can do that 3-belt giveaway. We still plan on doing it. We just got to get to 5,000 on Facebook, got to get to 1,000 on Twitter. We're also on Patreon. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now, patreon.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. If you find it so generously in your heart to become one of our patrons, first of all, we'd appreciate it. We do have 4 paid tiers that you can choose from. Bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. I think bronze is $5 a month. Silver is $10 a month. Gold, I think, is $20 or $25 a month. I don't recall. And then platinum is $50 a month. Each have their own perks and benefits, including additional giveaways in any and all future announced drawings and giveaways, including the belt giveaway that we're doing. That does not include today's giveaway. But you could also get discounts on your merch purchases or free merch as well. So you could get a free t-shirt and or a free hoodie depending on which tier you select. So again, that's patreon.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. If you would like to become one of our patrons, we would appreciate it. Check us out there. Check out our 4 different tiers, each again with their own perks and individual benefits. So I'll tell you what, we'll wrap up our show with talking about our Superstar of the Week, and then we'll do this drawing to wrap things up. So I'll let you take this one first. Who's your Superstar of the Week?
So Superstar of the Week for me.
And we did not talk about this ahead of time, so I have no idea what his is. He has no idea what mine is.
We like to try to keep it from each other so it's organically received across the show. Mine is Kyle O'Reilly. I think Kyle O'Reilly absolutely sold me last week during the promo on Wednesday. Here's the other thing is we have to pick based off of what we saw pretty much last week. Because now that our show is on Wednesday, we're not getting a full week of wrestling this week. So I usually don't take in Monday night into effect. I usually save that for the next week. So I'm kind of counting Sunday and back. And Kyle O'Reilly last week on Wednesday convinced me that he could put a good promo together. He clearly has the in-ring ability, but then putting on what I believe was a 5-star match and the best match of the year to date right now. I think he absolutely showed me that he is single main event level talent in WWE, and I was very impressed. So mine is Kyle O'Reilly.
So ironic because mine is Finn Balor. I mean, just based on what I saw this past week, based on his performance. Now I know you're not including Takeover in yours, are you? Because you said you.
Sunday and back.
Okay, yes. Okay. So mine is based on Takeover as well as just, what we've seen just in vignettes and him backstage and just his character, how he carries himself. And like I said, guys, we're going off on a week-to-week basis here. This isn't like his match with Adam Cole does not factor into this whatsoever. So this is just strictly this week. Finn Balor to me had, easily match of the week. Because we talked about this being NXT match of the year potentially. And really just because he won the match, that's who I give the nod to. So, guys, let us know what you think. If you had a wrestler / superstar of the week, I also want to take some questions from you guys about anything we've talked about today. We'll do this for a few more minutes. Any questions you might have about anything in general. The reason I want to do this is because for whatever reason, I'm making sure that everybody that replied with the word here is populating over, and I'm having to actually manually type some people in for some reason. But while I'm doing that, ask us some questions or give us your thoughts on anything. I'll have Cole read off some questions and thoughts from you guys as I'm doing this. But again, I just want to make sure that all you guys that replied with the word here are entered. I
saw a few questions way early in the show. So while you guys are kind of typing those in, we'll just tackle two of the ones that I remember. Saki, we gave our thoughts on Ember Ramoon's return earlier in the show. We both think it's great. So somebody asked earlier, who do we think should be added into the 24/7 championship title picture or storyline? Who else should hold it other than?
I like how we're calling it a title picture.
Whatever you want to call it. Who else should be involved with that other than R-Truth, Drew Gulak, and Akira Tozawa? Honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think anybody should hold it except for R-Truth. R-Truth is one of the best kept secrets in wrestling because he's able to take something that is honestly at face value one of the stupidest things that they've done and make it entertaining to watch. And so I think R-Truth should always kind of hold it. Of course, someone's got to pin him for it to make it go further and for storylines to develop. But honestly, Tozawa's done a great job of being comedic in that role too. And they can always maybe do one-off appearances with some other wrestlers, but honestly, I don't think they should really introduce anybody into that. Another question that was asked is, do we think AEW is better than WCW? Do we think where it's at right now is doing better or has a better product than WCW? I will say I think AEW is onto something. I think that they have a formula that they're seeing work. Miro actually spoke out about some of the storylines, how storylines are done in AEW versus WWE. Kind of talked a little bit about the Lana, Bobby Lashley, Liv Morgan, Rusev storyline, about how there really was no plan. A lot of the storyline was one-time pops, where AEW is looking for a long-term story that progresses into another story that progresses into another story. So I do think they're onto a good formula. I don't think at face value right now they are better than WCW. I do think they have potential to be better than WCW. And Alex obviously gave his thoughts in a very, very easy answer as
Well, it's still too soon. I mean, I know they've been around for a couple years now, or close to 2 years, I think. AEW that is.
right.
Now Dynamite's only been around for a little over a year, but
Right.
I'm going back to their inception in January of 2019, I believe.
Right.
So yeah, looks like I got everybody entered. We'll take a couple more questions. Todd says, if they brought in Undisputed Era to main roster at Survivor Series, do you think they pair them with one main roster star and have a traditional Survivor Series match? Or do they jump somebody? I don't think they'll be involved in Survivor Series. That's just my quick answer.
Selfishly, this is just what came to mind. You do the brand split, right? You put a couple of different factions on different brands. You do a 3-way Survivor Series match: the Hurt Business versus Retribution versus Undisputed Era.
Agreed.
That's what I would do if they decided to go that route.
See, I still think they need to go that route. Just in all of their elimination matches, you have Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. You have the 3 teams, like they did last year. Well, I mean, last year's Survivor Series match was phenomenal. I loved the end with Keith Lee and Roman Reigns, how they teased Keith Lee almost getting the win. It was just a really good match, and I really wish they would do that going forward. But it remains to be seen if they do. Let's see. Jamie says, in regards to the draft, I see a big name going to SmackDown from Raw. From Raw to SmackDown. Then the next night, the switch. Then they do the switch back for shock value.
Oh, like the John Cena thing
Yeah.
of years past.
His name is John Cena.
Had to play it.
Finally has the volume up, ready to go.
Had to play it.
I'm proud of you today.
Mark says he doesn't get the feud with Hurt Business and Retribution. I can kind of see where he's coming from. It doesn't feel like Retribution should be feuding with anybody specifically, though.
Right.
That's kind of my mentality,
I agree.
my logic behind it.
Hurt Business, the only reason why they're feuding with Hurt Business is because Hurt Business came in and said, you can pay us to take care of the problem.
Right.
But ultimately, I think if you're going to have like each brand have a team, you just have Hurt Business add a 5th person to their team, at least for one night, and then do a Hurt Business Retribution. Same with Undisputed Era, add 1 person, or have Retribution drop 1 person and do a 4v4v4.
Yeah, Mark makes a good point. They're both supposed to be heel factions, so it just kind of feels like 2 gangs that are
rival gangs.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll tell you what. It's about 10 till 11 o'clock our time. We'll go ahead and do this giveaway. And again, the winner of this will receive a Chris Jericho t-shirt of their choosing from Pro Wrestling Tees. I will get with the winner, or I should say the winner has to get with me because we don't contact winners going forward. But hopefully whoever's watching is still whoever wins is still watching, that is. And again, I will cover small, medium, large, extra large, but with Pro Wrestling Tees and how they've got their pricing set up, there would be upcharges for XL and bigger. So hopefully we can get an answer from the winner on this while we're still live, because if they don't want to pay the extra charges for a t-shirt, or they don't want to pay the shipping charges, and maybe we can do the drawing again. All right, guys, let's do our 10 clicks. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on our 10th click will be our winner. The winner is number 10. It's our YouTube name, DA61934. So whoever DA61934 is the winner. So he or she needs to contact me through through Facebook, or on this chat thread while we're still live. And hopefully they do so shortly, because I'd like to maybe get an answer from them if they want the shirt or not. So again, YouTube channel DA61934 is our winner. If you're still watching, hopefully let us know if you are seeing the fact that you are our winner. In the meantime, while hopefully we're waiting to hear back, any final thoughts?
It's going to be an interesting next 3 nights, I should say. Tonight's going to be a very interesting night of wrestling between the two brands. We got Tommaso Ciampa versus Kushida tonight on NXT. Probably a few other highlight matches there. We got a dog collar match tonight with Cody Rhodes and Brody Lee.
You said Cody Rhodes.
I'm sorry. That's his name. Anyways, as well as Chris Jericho's 30th year celebration. So a lot to unpack there. And then also Friday and Monday, we have a WWE draft as well. And then following after that, not too far away, is Hell in a Cell. So next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot of content to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about. Okay, DA61934 just replied he or she does want the shirt. So congratulations. You will need to contact us. Contact me through either our Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page or just my personal Facebook page, Alex Garrett. Either one's fine. Just send me a private message. We'll get you hooked up. But again, we only cover shipping for free within the lower 48 states. Any international winners, any winner that lives in Alaska or Hawaii would have to help cover the shipping charges. I will also only cover a shirt small through extra large, and any additional X's onto that size would incur an upcharge as well. So again, contact me through my personal Facebook page or our Going Broadway Podcast Facebook page. Either one would be fine. Thanks, guys. We sincerely appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us for, almost 2 hours. We have a lot of fun doing this, and we can't say thank you enough. Jordan says, when do y'all do the drawings for the belt raffle? So the belt raffles are in conjunction with the Powerball drawings on Wednesday and Saturday nights. So we do have a belt raffle going currently for a brand new mystery belt. And if we can get that filled before tonight, it would go for tonight's drawing. But if not, it would carry over to Saturday night's drawing. But we do have a couple of drawings that will be going for tonight as well. So if you're in on those, we appreciate it. We thank you for that as well. And we got a lot to talk about over the next couple weeks for sure. Just with the draft, Hell in a Cell. Next couple Wednesdays are going to be interesting and pretty jam packed. So tune in over the next couple weeks, because I will personally, hopefully, have a surprise debut of something. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh.
Either next week or the week after. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, we will be debuting something. We will actually be debuting some new segments as well. There is a pro-con segment we want to do where Cole and I pick a topic that we disagree on. We kind of just friendly debate, go back and forth on a particular topic. And so we might throw that in next week. We'll wait and see. But I asked this once already, but any other parting thoughts from you, sir?
As always, guys, thanks for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We greatly appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you go get that Alex Cole Bebe t-shirt and hoodie.
Throw those up one more time.
Because it is that time of year, and we appreciate you rocking that for us as well. So, I'm just glad to be here, and thanks for watching.
Agreed. For Alex, myself, for Cole, again, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll catch you next Wednesday.
And so, goodbye. And good night, bang!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.